As you all know, on this channel I like to go frame by frame with a movie or TV show, cutting through the bullshit and proving to you all with facts and evidence why something is objectively good or bad. Well, today is no exception. Why would it be? One of the most requested films to receive what my fans have nicknamed the J-Boi treatment is The Last Jedi. In the last 7 years, it's been impossible to go anywhere without hearing the repetitive argument between fake fan haters and Disney shills, so I thought I'd take it upon myself to put an end to that once and for all and provide a definitive, objective argument on why it's good. Because The Last Jedi is objectively a cinematic masterpiece, and I'm gonna jump into how. As I always do on this channel, I'll go through the movie in order of its scenes. Why waste time structuring an argument when a perfectly good structure is provided by the film? Now, some of you may say that a video essay and a film should actually be shaped differently and that this is the laziest form of media commentary possible, but saying that would actually make you a woke SJW and you would be the target of my next 12-hour live stream where me and a bunch of plausible deniability bigots explain why you're wrong. So without further ado, which is an ironic thing to say in a video format that always ends up being 90% ado, let's look at Rian Johnson's Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Okay, let's start by talking about the name. The Last Jedi is a great stealth double entendre, as Jedi can be both singular and plural. Specifically, the name is referring to Luke Skywalker. It's how he was referred to in The Force Awakens opening crawl, and by Yoda in Return of the Jedi. But it's also how Kylo Ren refers to him at the end of the movie, and Luke responds that no, he won't be the Last Jedi. So in actuality, the name could refer to both Luke and Rey. In French, the title actually backs that up. It's called Les Derniers Jedi, which speaks to plurality. I think this just goes to show that this film has more depth and more layers than any of these stupid fucking crybabies could ever understand. So now let's talk about the film itself. Okay, so I'm going to break character now, which shows a dreadful lack of commitment, but the plan here was to excruciatingly go through and painstakingly talk about everything in this movie in an uninterrupted 3-hour take until I got more and more delirious. But honestly, as I was making notes and watching the film, I realised I could get just as much, if not more, done if I just did a commentary of the film and told you my thoughts as I had them. It's not as funny, but we may end up with something that's actually semi-worthwhile. So if you want to sync up and watch the movie with me, then go ahead. If you want to just keep watching me on my own for the sake of hearing my thoughts on literally everything that happens in The Last Jedi, then be my guest. Okay, let's start the movie now. So the first major thing that this film has to do, and it does cause a bit of whiplash when you're watching it, especially for the first time, is, I guess, retcon or at least establish what the hell is going on in the galaxy in this era. Because that's something that The Force Awakens just isn't interested in at all. Like, beyond the specific events of that movie and the characters in it, we have no real sense of what this conflict is like for the galaxy. What's it like for normal people? We see the Republic get destroyed, but I think I always get the sense that J.J. Abrams has no real interest in what that actually means, and the First Order is limited so specifically to Starkiller Base that it's like, okay, are they reigning? Are they on every planet? So The Last Jedi, the opening crawl kind of has to go, yes, in order for there to be a story past Starkiller, yeah, of course, the First Order everywhere, they are now the dominant force in the galaxy, I suppose, in the power vacuum left by the New Republic. Obviously, it's a bit ridiculous to suddenly, overnight, have the First Order completely in charge, but I think if you don't do that, you don't have a movie. And it's one of those things, it'll come up a few times. J.J. Abrams, he left a sequel. He made it so the sequel had to take place exactly where The Force Awakens left off, but at the same time, in so many places, you could have done with a lot of time in between, time to do some world building off screen, rather than just one line of text saying, oh, by the way, First Order's in charge now. But yeah, I think that Luke Skywalker cliffhanger, there's nowhere else you can go than to just bring it back. So, if you're watching with me, we are on the opening scene now, flying down through the evacuation. As I said in my video, I kind of wished we'd gone all the way down to the planet, but, I don't mind seeing. I think going down to the planet's cool because seeing the the First Order arrive from the planet's surface is a very cool thing. That's a cool idea. It actually kind of links back to something that was in a deleted scene from A New Hope, where Luke looks up and he sees the opening battle of Star Wars play out from the surface of Tatooine. Hux looks weird in this. It's a bit of foreshadowing for the fact he is weird. Hux looking strange in this compared to the previous movie. I just like to think he hasn't slept. He hasn't trimmed his eyebrows or sideburns. It was the basis of a very good joke I once pulled in a Hux video where I got a haircut mid-video. I think Hux in this, I had a whole video about it. It was, a lot of people said he was ruined by making him a comedic character, but I think you can't have him be a dreadful, scary character in a film that already has Snoke and Kylo Ren in a prominent position. I think you need one of them to take the back seat. We'll talk more about Hux. I think the visual of Poe on his own, standing against this huge dreadnought, and the dreadnought, what a design, what an incredible, like the sound of it, the alarm, just such a presence on screen. I think if you don't like the prank phone call that Poe Dameron does, you don't like fun. I think it's perfectly within character for Hux to be narcissistic enough to want to monologue his way through his victory. He's lost Starkiller. He's kind of lost a lot of favour from Snoke as a result of that. And I think he's desperate for a win, and he's desperate to telegraph that win as his win. So he is perfectly susceptible for Poe to troll him. And I think it's all perfectly in character for Poe as well. So I don't see the issue here beyond just people thinking tonally it's not something that should happen in Star Wars. But I don't think it's different to what I've seen before is necessarily a reason why something shouldn't happen. Then we see Poe do a big-ass boost, and we feel that by having both Poe and BB-8 slam backwards. And I really enjoy just everything about Poe's X-Wing, really. I think the design, I love the kind of Ralph McQuarrie engine designs of the sequel X-Wings, the half engines making one big circle rather than 4 engines. I also love the look of confidence draining from Hux's face as soon as he realised that Poe might actually pose a threat against the Dreadnought. Captain Kennedy, I mean, for starters, the Dreadnought cockpit looking, being bathed in this red light like a submarine, it's just fantastic as an idea. Kennedy, as a minor character, he's one of a few characters in this that is just like original trilogy levels of kind of memorability in characters that do such a small amount. They've just all got this kind of magic to them. And Kennedy is no exception. He has so few lines, but just in the strength of the performance and the coverage that he gets from the film, like the looks he's able to have, really strong. And then in amongst all this, we get a lovely, lovely, charming BB-8 slapstick, little comedy sequence that I think is still kept frantic enough that it doesn't take away from it at all. Fire on the base. I mean, look at that. Like, Rian Johnson knows how much juice that performer has, so he is able to really let him shine. The destruction of the Rebel base on Dakar is one of my favourite scenes because that's not a very good planet and I don't like it. Sorry. Currently, Leia is telling Poe not to engage. And the sickest thing of all time just happened with Poe flying between a thing. I'm not going to just describe it. I'm just waiting for them to get to a bit that I can talk over, and so that nothing is going to be reminding. Wipe that nervous expression off your face, 3PO. I mean, people praise The Rise of Skywalker a lot for understanding C-3PO and giving him all the thing, but Leia telling 3PO he has a nervous expression on his face is that completely understands the appeal of 3PO. And Leia in this film, I will say it a lot in the next couple of hours, but I think she is just beautifully handled. And Poe Dameron just Tokyo Drift his X-Wing. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I hope he disengages now, though. Don't bring the bombers. Okay, I'll talk about Leia in a sec. The Resistance bombers, what a source of discourse, you know? Why don't they just bring Y-Wings? You see Y-Wings? They've got a few proton torpedoes. These things, a gazillion bombs. I love the integration of the cockpit scenes within the exterior shots of ships in this. Like, I think it's so seamless in a way that no other film has ever achieved. That, like, Tally looked like she was there. Like, you didn't have to cut to an interior shot once we'd seen her X-Wing arrive. I love the radio chatter here has a lot of a similar kind of radio effect as kind of rebel chatter in A New Hope. So yeah, these bombers, I think, you know, if they were under different circumstances, these bombers would be a perfect design for just, you know, you give them a good fighter escort under, you know, less insane odds, and they can drop an incredible amount of bombs and deal such a huge amount of firepower to the target. So I think the complaint that they're poorly designed is a bad one. That what we really need is the complaint that they're poorly utilized in the strategy. It's a bad strategy in this context. That's the point of the movie. You are not disagreeing with it. You know, I think you shoot a ship full of explosives, it's going to explode. I don't think that's necessarily a plot hole. Okay, now we're being introduced to the second and I think best example of this movie's characters. These movies' side characters being just unbelievably memorable and impactful in whatever they're doing. So we get Paige name dropped as well, so we get to put that face to a name. And I think Rian Johnson just knows how to make these faces sing, you know? I mean, I think Paige has one line of dialogue, and we're instantly rooting for her. She's, again, framed a little bit like Poe, in that she's just this one ship alone against everything, and the terrifying odds of that. And I think being able to see out of the ship here is fantastic. I think it gives it a real sense of, I don't know, kind of fantasy, but also reality, and it's such a strange backdrop to have, you know, being able to look right down through. I'm going to try and keep the conversation flowing so that if people are watching this without the film, they're not too upset that there's just long pauses while I watch The Last Jedi. But it, I will admit, is very hard not to just watch The Last Jedi. The bombs are now falling out of am I doing audio description? I think watching how all the bombs fall and seeing the damage that does. Paige doesn't care that the flames are about to engulf her. Just a beautiful. There's so many within this whole sequence. There are a whole load of individual little sequences. Whether it's BB-8 with the electrical stuff, whether it's Poe with the TIE fighters, Kennedy getting a little look just before he dies. There's such an understanding of how to construct a sequence. And then you get the visual of just how many losses were taken on this mission. You know, the entire fleet of bombers. It's a victory. It's comes at a heavy cost. You know, you can understand Poe's reasoning, but that's not what was needed in this moment. Could the other Star Destroyers have scrambled some ships? Maybe. And then we finally see the reaction shot from Armitage Hux, who has had the wind knocked out of him a little bit, both by Starkiller and this. I've said before, the crux of my video, the crux of my Hux video, was that Hux wasn't a badass in The Force Awakens. He was a pathetic nerd, but he was a pathetic nerd with power. He was a kind of Ben Shapiro style, kind of alt-right, kind of dweeb, but one that had the backing to be dangerous. And I think that was, politically, there was something interested in that. And I'm really interested in the fact people saw that and went, whoa, he's so cool, and now they've made him weak. It's like, no, you take away those guys, you take away the power and platform and potential that they have for violence and whatever, and suddenly they are just pathetic losers. There's no surprise there, and I think Starkiller was the manifestation of that for Hux. And there's Noah Sagan across the screen, Ryan's lucky charm. Finn, naked, leaking bag. The thing about Finn, I mean, that was another thing, an insane thing to do. They put Finn in a coma and then started out the next, or made it so that it ended on a cliffhanger. So we couldn't have jumped into the future and, seen the rebellion move on without Finn. He had to wake Finn up immediately, really. I'll speak more about Finn when we get back to him. I think these transitions are so interesting, because typically, a sequel like this, time will have passed, characters will start together in Act 1, Empire Strikes Back, Attack of the Clones. They start out all in the same place, and then they shoot off into different directions, and that's easier to juggle in the first few scenes when you're getting everything set up. Whereas in this one, everyone starts separated because the film, in the previous film, that separated them. And I think the scene transitions that we get as a result, and I think, the way in which we move from each part of this film is so geniusly handled. I'll talk about them as they happen. What? Luke threw away the lightsaber. I mean, we're going to be talking about Luke quite a lot, but people said, if they didn't want it to be, if he wasn't going to take it, he should have sorrowfully handed it back to Rey. And it's like, yeah, shown it the respect he didn't feel it deserved. That makes sense. I mean, yeah, Luke tosses aside a lightsaber. That's the last thing we saw Luke do with a lightsaber. FYI, in Return of the Jedi. Oh, X-Wing door. Is that fun? Is this fun to just listen to me point at the screen and go, I see Easter egg? Your sister Leia sent me. That's funny from Rey. I think it's funny. Otherwise, it's kind of silly. I know The Force Awakens has the really, I think, stupid bit where Snoke goes, the Millennium Falcon is in the hands of your father, Han Solo. And it's like, yep, Kylo knows. He knows who that is, actually. I think Rian Johnson is a coward for not having the lightsaber skewer the porgs. But at the same time, if porg skewers are what you want, the film is not, short of them. I think sending Chewie in to knock some sense into Luke is great. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't start with Chewie. I guess that's a thing from the previous film. People say we don't get a good enough moment of Luke mourning Han Solo, but the look in his eyes when he says, "Where's Han?" and that being immediately followed by the cut to the source of Han's fate, I think is all we need. It's such a spectacular moment that I would not sacrifice for 30 seconds of Luke going, "Oh, not Han." And it's not like we don't get Luke in the Falcon later anyway. That is mourning Han as well. I don't know what these people want, really. See, Snoke understands Hux's characterization. Snoke knows exactly what he's working with Han. Now, when Kylo's wearing the mask in this, I think, and I don't know if this is true, I think they have messed with his filter slightly to make him sound more ridiculous. Like it sounds stupid to hear his voice come through this mask. And that then leads to Snoke saying, "Take that ridiculous thing off." Like, I think it's the muffled again, and here's Snoke laying out issues with Kylo Ren as a weak example of an heir to Vader, as if the film isn't aware of it. Like, you've got people in reviews and things going, "Oh, he's no Vader." It's like, well, yeah. Yeah, I am sure Kylo Ren's voice is made to sound stupider. I can't pinpoint it, though, because it does just sound like his vocal filter. Now, I think similar to Hux, the fact they look like they've put poor Ben Solo through a blender before filming is a great creative choice. I mean, look at Adam Driver's eyes and tell me that, rebuilding the helmet was a good idea. Snoke is making fun of him for losing a fight to a girl who'd never held a lightsaber. He's been on the forums. Yeah, it's a failure from Kylo Ren. I mean, he'd been shot. And Rey's very good at what she does, but it was a failure. I don't think the film's like, that's normal. Snoke's just like, no worries, mate. We knew you wouldn't win. Snoke looks unbelievably good in this. I think in amongst everything else with Snoke and this movie, Snoke is out of the contention. Like, he's not in the conversation of best mocap characters as much as he should be. Like, he's on par with Thanos, I think. Almost maybe more impressive than Thanos because it's a less human face. Maybe. It was a year before Thanos as well. 6 months before. So many eye shots in this. Like, specifically the eyes. Like, that was framed very similarly to... what's he called? Poe Dameron. Earlier on. Now, there's a bit here where Rey says to Luke, "The First Order's going to do this, and we need you to come and help us." And people say... I don't know, people say she's wooden in it, Daisy Ridley. And I think that's kind of the point. I don't know if that's a cop-out. I think it's... she's detached, right, from what she's saying. This is the Resistance's brief to Luke Skywalker. We need you to say this to Luke, explain the situation and come. She is removing herself from the equation. And later on, we see Luke push through that facade and get to the emotional core of Rey. And that... we see her be emotional, we see her break down, and we see that wooden exterior melt away. Do you melt wood? Yeah. So I think pointing at that completely contextless and saying, well, Rey doesn't sound like she's convinced that Daisy Ridley's bad at acting. No. I think Daisy Ridley is very good in this. I mean, the island that they filmed on, I mean, that's a decision made by The Force Awakens, but again, The Last Jedi takes what was good about The Force Awakens, and everything that works 1,000 times better. And we also get, you know what, maybe not 1,000 times better. I think the Jedi step sequence at the end of The Force Awakens is great. And then we get milking. Weird Star Wars. I can't believe how angry it makes people, really, but I'm just quite glad it exists for that reason, just because I can't imagine building up any feelings towards it. Luke doing all this fishing stuff and all the island survival stuff is an interesting thing, because you kind of... I don't know, you assume when you first watch, wow, he's so good at the Force now that all of this stuff comes naturally. But he is closed off from the Force. He's just really good at like this from practice. I mean, she makes a comment on it later, but seeing Luke's daily routine and learning that he's not busy, he's not doing anything mystical, I think that's important, because we'd all written a version of this movie in our heads in the years between The Force Awakens and this. So, I think not subverting our expectations, but telling us how it actually is rather than how we imagined it would be. That's important. And knowing that this film was written before we'd even had a chance to react to The Force Awakens, that, it means it's not playing just with expectations, but with where things should go. So Rey has with her a beacon, a tracking beacon thing that connects her to the Resistance, and I think it exists primarily to facilitate the cuts between the two sides of the story, and I think I am fascinated by that. The idea of a physical prop, a physical story item being used for the sake of like an editing trick. Really good, really cool. Like, it works. It doesn't feel out of place, but also it really eases us through those transitions. Rey is being called into the Jedi tree. I think the idea of this library of the Jedi being inside a tree is just a really great one. It doesn't feel mind-blowing or completely, wow, this is like nothing I've ever seen. But at the same time, it is like nothing we've ever seen. It's kind of Jedi before Coruscant, Jedi before, the Jedi Temple, the digital archives, all this technology, the modern Jedi, I think the idea of this kind of primal, stripped down kind of basic idea of the Jedi and they're finding themselves very early on in galactic history. That's very interesting to me. Let's hope James Mangold delivers. Rey from nowhere. I think calling her Rey from nowhere is really cool. Like, obviously, it's part of a joke. And here we get Luke breaking down that facade. And suddenly we see all this emotion and fear and uncertainty from Rey in Daisy Ridley's eyes. I think she is best in this movie out of the three. And I see this performance now, and I'm kind of heartbroken that she's crap in the next one. Not Daisy Ridley, but Rey. Like, she's not funny, really. She's not got this emotional depth. She's just kind of, I don't know. So there's Luke saying it's time for the Jedi to end. That was in the trailer. That was a major source of our speculation. Yet people were still incredibly shocked at his attitude towards the Jedi Order. Very strange. I mean, people were speculating for him to be evil in The Force Awakens, so to see this and be angry is, I don't know. Here we see Leia with her water bottle. Leia's costume in this, I really, really love, because it kind of takes that Force Awakens girl bossness of, this isn't a princess, she's a general. We're going to dress her, what did Carrie Fisher call it, like a classy gas station attendant, we're not, she's not a damsel anymore, she's in charge. It's like, well, she wasn't a damsel when she was a princess. So this movie kind of goes, yes, she can be regal, she can be beautiful, and she is beautiful, and she can be a leader. She's wise and, man. I like that Finn's jacket has been repaired by Poe in the time between movies. It's just one of those things that's strong. Just a strong visual. that character, Lieutenant Daisy? Amanda Lawrence, the actress is called. That's another one that has real minor character juice. And Snoke's ship. I mean, taking the Dreadnought and kind of upping it in scale, and I think the way it's framed, kind of we see it from the underside of it. I don't know. It creates this dread, you know? So light speed tracking. I think people saying like, oh, but they tracked thing in light speed. There's this example of it happening in canon. I feel like for the sake of something like this, if the movie tells you that it's impossible, you just have to assume it means impossible on this scale, impossible in these circumstances. We thought it wasn't possible, but it is now possible, rather than the notion of that is something that can't ever be done. Am I making excuses? I don't think so. I think if the movie is telling you something's a problem, going, well, no, it isn't actually, it's not useful. We're about to see the saddest death in the sequel trilogy, the death of Black One, Poe Dameron's X-Wing fighter, murdered by Benjamin Chewbacca Solo, the biggest bastard in the Outer Rim. Seeing Kylo Ren as a pilot, and a great one, you know, this is the legacy of Vader, this is the legacy of Han Solo. Of course he would be like a force to be reckoned with behind the wheel of a spaceship. I think it's... You know, you think, of course, yeah, that's Kylo Ren. He's a great pilot, but that was something that this film introduced or really showed us. Could have assumed it, though. See, that's Poe saying to Finn, we need to get out of range of the Star Destroyers, and then cut upstairs on the bridge, Akbar's saying, we need to what? Showing that Leia has given the exact same instruction. Leia and Poe, it's establishing Poe as the successor to Leia, in a really natural way that keeps the pace of everything flowing, and is kind of funny. And now, I'm going to try very hard not to cry as we see... One of my favourite moments in Empire Strikes Back is the crossfades, the Leia into Luke on the Falcon. And getting that with Ben and his mum, it breaks my heart. And the fact they've got similar beautiful brown eyes, and, you know, he's making the decision not to kill his mum. And doesn't matter. He's aligned himself with people who will. Oh no, they killed Admiral Akbar. That's me, if I'm a loser. What? Admiral Akbar? Where was his epic sacrifice? The thing about Admiral Akbar is that people were saying, oh, they should have... we'll talk about it in a moment. So here we have Aide Edmondson as Hux's aide, basically explaining, you know, we can't quite keep up because they're smaller and they can get there faster than us, but their shields won't hold. We have all the might in the world. Of course we can just wait it out on this and just let them, you know, peter out, run out, and then we'll just destroy them after a, you know, I think the setup's fine. I think it's good. I think it's there's this kind of ticking time bomb threat. You can go, oh, you know, why don't they light speed a tiny bit ahead and then turn around and shoot it? I know, boring. You can just say it's overconfidence. It's Hux. Right, Leia doing this. People saying, oh, this looks a bit silly. I'd rather she'd have just died. It's like, well, you pissed yourself at Admiral Akbar dying in those circumstances, but you claim you would be happy if Leia Organa died in those circumstances. For those watching, Leia is about to holdo maneuver the hologram of Snoke's ship. So just, she would have immediately had her lungs crushed or something. Oh, there was a bit of air left over that the shield was holding in the space. Whatever. Physically, maybe it looks a little limited, but I think they were restricted by, Carrie Fisher's physicality and what she was capable of stunts-wise. I think it's graceful, and I think John Williams does a lot of work to make it feel graceful. And I know the next movie kind of retconned it, that she'd had actual Jedi training, but the idea that there was enough inbuilt force in Leia that she was able to save herself in a situation like that, I found so beautiful. And now there's Porg skewer comedy. This film has everything. I like the idea that Chewie can't bring himself to eat a Porg after he's killed 2. He draws the line, but, he has a sad moment where he's not able to eat it, but I think it would be... you've already killed it and cooked it. You may as well eat that one and just change your ways after that. Vegetarians in the chat, let me know, is that how it works? If you decide to become a vegetarian but you've already got some cooked sausages in the fridge. Eat them? Don't eat them? Let me know in the comments below. Luke Skywalker. That's Rian Johnson's hand. Luke Skywalker in the Falcon. Again, yeah, as I said, he's mourning Han. There's no way to read this other than the mourning of Han Solo. We have 2 scenes that adequately mourn Han Solo, and they wanted just an extra one. Slow things down a bit in this key moment. I do love that Luke's grumpiness just melts away when he sees his old friend. And I can't believe JJ was originally going to send BB-8 to the island with Rey and Chewie. And it was Rian Johnson going, can I have R2-D2, please? Give him something to do in these movies. Thank God. It's unbelievable that they made this not knowing that Carrie was going to die, because Leia is the heart of this film. Using Leia's message to get through to Luke, using Leia's theme. I think the score was done after Carrie died, and I think you can tell, because any mention of Leia, any hint of Leia's involvement, John Williams blasts you with Leia's theme, and it makes you cry, and you feel her presence even when she's not as present as, ideally she would have been in her final movie, but we didn't know. The idea was Han has Force Awakens, Luke has Episode 8, Leia would have Episode 9. That was an idea. So this is Amanda Lawrence, again, as I said, one of the side characters I think makes a real impact. According to Rian Johnson, she was originally only having one line. I think he'd seen her in a play, and yeah, he just kept finding things for her to do, and I think she does it very well. So Poe thinks he's going to step up and take over from Leia, and I think that immediately sets up a bit of tension between them, because he hoped to be in the position that she's in. I think, talking about Akbar, I was dismissive of him earlier. I don't think the fish man from Return of the Jedi should have plot armor just because he's from Return of the Jedi. But I think using a character that's named, using a character that's known, if you can kill him off in an instant without a thought, seemingly, then it almost gives you the sense that no one is safe. It's, well, if even the fish doesn't have plot armor, anyone can be blasted out that window. But people didn't read it as that. They went, you don't care about the fish? You didn't give the fish Holdo's epic sacrifice? Just... I think there's an alien there that goes, Poe, almost, don't run in and speak to Holdo, Poe. But it was subtitled as speaking alien language. Imagine you're Holdo and you're thrust into this position of power, and then some guy you don't know, who's just been demoted by your good friend Leia, bursts into your room and goes, I'm going to tell you what we need to be doing here. I wouldn't tell him anything. I think what we're meant to go through here is a similar journey to Poe, where we do not like this lady. We're like, Poe's a hero, lady. You better be taking him a bit more seriously, if I were you. And I think we're meant to feel like that. And then we're meant to see what Poe's impulsiveness does and where that gets him, and what Holdo's plan would have got them, and then what Holdo is actually capable of. And we go, oh, shit. She was right. I, Poe Dameron, was wrong. You know, you buy into Poe, but people are so fucking stubborn that they go, that lady's being mean to Poe. Poe's me. I'm the hero. I am invested in this character. I'm going on this journey with him. I hate this lady. And then that never changes. They never go through that learning experience that everyone else gets. And they go, not listening to this lady, even when Poe is starting to realise he was wrong. And that, there's a gender thing at play there, I'm sure. It would be naive to say there isn't. The fact she's got pink hair in 2017 was a fucking death sentence for the character. People going, ooh, Admiral Gender Studies. Fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself right now. We can talk more about Poe and Holdo. Let's talk about Rose. I think, what a beautiful introduction to a character, just having her fangirling over Finn. And I think how charming from Finn to play that up and say, oh, may the Force be with you, I'm a bit of a hero now. Especially because, Rose is almost what the audience thinks Finn is by the end of The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens is a movie that does not conclude Finn's arc. He wants to run. He wants to, okay, I'll join the Resistance, but only to save Rey. And then the obvious conclusion there is, I'm going to join the Resistance because it's the right thing to do. And that is so obvious that people think it happened. But it doesn't. It doesn't happen. He is firmly on, I will lead these people to death just to get Rey out of there. There is no hope, but I don't care about this stupid cause. Not stupid, but misguided, The First Order is too big to go up against, and I'm not going to give away my life going up against it. So he's at that point in his life, and the trajectory that he's on is interrupted when he's put into a coma and never heard from again in that movie. JJ chucks him aside when he's done with the misdirection, and he's able to let Rey shine. So this film has to kind of bring Rose in as you're the Resistance hero. And then Finn, through his accent, shows that at this stage in his life, he isn't. And Rose, it's her job in the film to kind of help him become that over the course of the narrative. And you have people going, Poe's not, Finn's not running away now out of, his own selfishness, but it's a selfishness of he wants to save Rey. He is loyal now, not just to himself, but to his friends. Specifically friend. So he's got a form of loyalty, but he needs to go a step further. So people were saying, oh, they just repeated the same arc from the previous movie. No, they completed the arc from the previous movie. And you want to point fingers at where the arc fell apart. It's the first installment. I think everyone just kind of assumed that more had happened to Finn in that movie than had. So I think, a disappointing. But I really love what this movie does with him. So I don't hate that they give him the space. I love 3PO's stressed reaction shots in this, even in the reflection of this mutiny conversation, this treasonous conversation that they're having. I mean, he's just in the room to be funny, really. He's just in the room to go, I shouldn't know about this. I don't want to be part of this. I think... Rose is just this beacon of light, this beacon of hope and strength. And she's like, I don't know, while Poe's going through his kind of flyboy leadership stuff, Rey's going through Jedi stuff, Luke, and Finn is discovering his place in everything. Rose is able to be the embodiment of all that's good about this cause and all that's worth fighting for. Poe's already committed. Rey's already committed. And Rose is what it's all about. She's the saving what we love. And I know people don't like that, but that's what she's all about. That's what the film's all about. And now there's the only scene in this movie that I don't like, and it's Maz Kanata's FaceTime call. And I think, apparently in some version of The Force Awakens, Maz was going to end up with the Rebels. I mean, we do see in the trailer she's giving the lightsaber to Leia. I don't know if that was going to happen on Takodana or on the Rebel base, but... Sorry, I've just dropped a pen that I was playing with. I'm going to put it down because that's not good for an audio environment. The thing about... what I will say about this scene, I do like that she implies she's fucked the Master Code Breaker. Funny. But I almost wonder that this was a character that they wanted more from, but given the setup that this movie had, there wasn't a chance to involve Maz because she wasn't with them at the time. But I also think her saying, you need one person in this world to... one person in the galaxy can crack that, and then it turns out that... what's he called? DJ can crack it later on. That feels a bit silly. Just say that it's very hard and she currently only trusts one man to do it. Not that only one man in the galaxy. Whatever. Oh, Reylo. They're doing some Reylo now. I mean, I can talk about Reylo till the cows come home, and I have. Check out Joe Brennan Reylo video, A Complicated History, in cinemas now. I mean, not the video. I work there. The sound cuts out, and we know that they are looking at each other's eyes because it's framed like they are, even though they're in different places. And there's nothing fancy going on except that. And then we turn around. Kylo's not in the room with her. He's on his own. Now, I think seeing Kylo's living quarters is a big step because it's our first step to seeing Ben Solo as a real boy, He's not just a baddie. Oh, and they've switched places, but they are still... Have they switched places? No, I don't know. It's still framed like a conversation. And it's just so effective. There's no flash, there's no tech wizardry, there's no cool force ripple around everything. Again, trying very hard not to just watch The Last Jedi here. This is something else. Ben Solo is so beautiful, man. I mean, that's something that JJ and Ryan neither were afraid to do, is just make that man look stunning. If he was never going to get a redemption, why so dreamy? Why is his hair so nice? See, this was the intention of this video, is that I would just turn on the mic and record. So even though I've slightly changed the format from the plan, hopefully I am getting more delirious. And you'll get true unfiltered for thoughts. Oh, and now we're seeing into the Jedi Temple structure. built into the cliff face itself. The cliff face? The mountain, the inside. Sorry, just having a sip of water. Again, it's the merging of the kind of the Jedi building themselves into nature, being at one with the world around them. It's not big concrete skyscraper temple, you know, it's the stunning. And here's Rey talking like a fan, talking like, oh, she's got the dark side, so we need you to come in and do badass. You use your power, Luke, the power of the Force that you have. That's what the Force is. Every word in that sentence is wrong. You know, I don't think it's... People throw around subverting expectations so much, but it's not just that. It's not, you expect this, so I'm doing something else. It's, you think this and you shouldn't, so we are doing something else. Not because it's the opposite, but because it's right. And the fact you think it's wrong is a problem that we need to address. You know, your understanding of the Force is wrong. Your understanding of the Jedi is wrong. Your understanding of Luke's place in this conflict is wrong. I know some people say, and he's not quite on the failure of the Jedi yet, but people say, by the end of this film, Luke admits that he's wrong. So in the next movie, when he's talking about, oh, the weapon of a Jedi deserves more respect, he's reabsorbed all the Jedi teachings and he's falling into all the same failings that the Jedi had because he was completely wrong in this movie. I don't think this movie thinks Luke is completely wrong about anything. I think he's maybe misguided and he's maybe lost the hope or the understanding of the value that he can have in the galaxy, but I think his outlook on the Force, like, if his outlook on the Jedi is supposed to be completely wrong, then why is he also giving one of the best descriptions of the Force? I don't think you can write off... you can't write off everything he says, and I don't think you can be selective about it either. Luke is saying these things about the Jedi because he's right. And we can prove that by the fact that he's also saying this stuff about the Force, and he's right. The Force. Ooh. I think this kind of gets revisited because Snoke spoke earlier about finding Kylo as this raw, untamed power and this potential to be something truly special, you know. And I think seeing that reflected, you know, we obviously don't get to see Ben Solo as he was found by Snoke, but we hear about that, and that is inadvertent setup. You know, he's berating Kylo, but it's also set up for this moment and the similarity between Rey and Ben Solo in that their sheer power and their willingness to go towards the dark if they feel the call. And having the dark side cave be kind of seaweedy and kind of by the sea and wet. I don't know, it's not just a cave in a forest again, you know? I think the visual of, getting soaked out on the rock, that's a great one. Just weird Force stuff, you know? The idea of Luke closing himself off from the Force is really interesting. Like, I don't know, like an awareness of the galaxy around him would be too much to bear, too painful, he's stepping away from it all. And Rian Johnson speaks about that. He spoke about how he needed that choice to not be cowardly. He's not running away. He is deciding that the galaxy is better off without Luke Skywalker in it, and he is making that choice. He is misguided, but it is coming from a place of strength. And I think combining that with completely removing himself from the Force, that's powerful. Can I talk about Chewie in this? I think Jonas Suotamo, I think he's fantastic as Chewbacca. We see a bit of him in The Force Awakens, but having him properly step up into the role completely in this and in Solo and in The Rise of Skywalker, I think he's an amazing find. And I'd love to see him again as Chewie. Rey having a little moment enjoying the rain is just what makes this movie special. Like, she's going through a lot, but at the same time, this is still Rey from The Force Awakens, who is going through stuff for the very first time. She's experiencing things for the first time post Jakku. Yeah, she'd enjoy the rain. It's new. It's different to home. It's life. I love that in these scenes, Rey's shouting anger is kind of met with Kylo's infallible calm, and it forces Rey to dial it down and kind of bring them onto the same level so that they can actually kind of have a conversation. If Kylo joined the conversation and said, I am a monster, then it would just be a shouting contest. And the thing about these scenes, the whole point of them, the setup is it forces them to talk without them just whipping out their laser swords and going to town, I guess it's the same as like putting Obi-Wan in like a ray shield so we can have that conversation with Count Dooku. It's finding a way for them to only have the option to say things to one another. See, it's a horrible place filled with the worst people in the world. Yacht. Rich people. Scum and villainy style introduction, similar to Mos Eisley, but it's not poor scum and villainy. It's not that kind of criminal. It's the war criminal. It's the people funding the war. It's the dreadful bastards. Get it? I say it almost like it's not, like it's obvious, but it is fantastic. This casino establishing shots, it's based on that famous one. You know me, I'm sin illiterate. One downside here, I wish they were able to go with the idea that Finn and Rose like dress up in gowns for this kind of infiltration. I just think that would have been fantastic. I do love Canto Bight. I think we're seeing the galaxy in a way that we don't in The Force Awakens. I mean, maybe we do in Takodana, but that is just kind of Mos Eisley again. But this is like, we're learning things about the world, about the world of Star Wars, and seeing a side of it we've never seen before. Like this could be in the prequels. It would not feel out of place there. It doesn't feel out of place here. See, I was about to say, I'm surprised the counter wasn't already wet from the stampedes of Fathiers, But as soon as I was about to think that, the man starts wiping it down. This is routine. He knows what happens when the Fathiers go past. I remember someone going in an angry review, Rose tells Finn to look closer beyond the surface, and he literally gets a pair of binoculars and looks closer. Obvious much? I don't know if I'm insane, but I don't see a problem with that. Look closer, look behind all the glitz and glamour. Yeah, look actually closer. You can use binoculars for that. Absolute. I think you've got to have a right to be angry about something when they're writing a Star Wars. And, this film is angry at the people who profiteer from all the war. And that's not the same thing as like aligning yourself with DJ and going, just because there are kind of people who are playing both sides means that the fight against fascism is a useless one. But it poses that idea. It's not afraid to suggest it, even if it is not, I don't think, committing to it. But everyone knows if someone says something in a movie, that's the movie saying it. Yeah, same is true of Let the Past Die. We'll get there. No, BB-8. So, you guys enjoying the movie? Is anyone still here? I'd like to think some of you are. You went, well, it's April Fool's Day. I will watch The Last Jedi with Joe Brennan. And some of you are going, it's April Fool's Day. I will listen to Joe Brennan watch The Last Jedi. You people, I really appreciate, because there are just periods here where I'm between things to say. It's kind of crazy that this lightsaber looks so good in this moment when it's against, like, a blue sky. That's the reason green lightsabers exist, is that they couldn't show up in daylight on a planet like this. But I think this makes it work pretty well. Like, obviously it's more washed out than when you're in a dark forest, but... Rey's theme is just... Is this Rey's theme? Before I go on about how good it is. I think that's Rey's theme. I've got this on quite a low volume. See, it's not something we get a huge amount of, but the comedy moments of slapstick between Rey and the caretakers are just fantastic. It would have got a payoff, a Rule of Three style payoff in the third lesson sequence, the deleted scene where Rey goes to the caretaker village and interrupts one of their parties. I think, yeah, we'll talk about that later. And this is Luke Skywalker putting the original trilogy and the prequels into context, considering the entire saga. This scene is a true episode 8 scene, you know? This isn't episode 5. This isn't, you know... I think J.J. Abrams doesn't like the prequels, and Rian Johnson at least respects them, respects what George Lucas was doing. And I think this idea that the Jedi, at their core, failed because of what they were doing, how they were doing it, and what exactly they did. And that he is not exempt in that. There's a kind of meta-ness of Luke examining his own legend, examining what the galaxy built himself up as and what he then bought into, and looking at maybe what we would imagine Luke to be. This kind of, wow, at 30 years old, he became the perfect being. What does that do to you? And the confidence that gives you, how that leads to you dealing with future conflicts. I think it's really interesting to use that as a starting point. And even now, lying to Rey about exactly what happened. He's ashamed, but he's more ashamed than he's even letting on, because he's refusing to actually give Rey the full story. Similar to how Luke and Yoda had failed him, really, by... Luke and Yoda? Obi-Wan and Yoda had failed Luke by not giving him the information he deserved about his father, because it didn't quite suit the agenda they were pushing. Because I was Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master. Meta. I don't think it's bad meta at all. I think this is... God. This movie is beautiful. This, like, the light on Rey's face, just the golden... I need someone to show me my place in all this. I remember it cut to, in the trailer, Kylo Ren, and everyone went, whoa! And then someone said they might have just constructed that out of 2 scenes. But it turns out he was still holding his hand out to her. It's just later on. Wow. A tear rolling down Luke's cheek. And then back to the Resistance. I think the stuff with the Resistance, and like they say the stuff with the casino is dreadful, but like I remember when I first watched it, I was less interested in all this, but I don't think that was because it was bad. It was just because everything that was going on that island was fascinating to me, and I just wanted as much of it as possible. And look, here's the freighter being destroyed, the medical frigate. I can't remember. But that's kind of an indication there, by having one of the ships fall away, is, you know... What am I saying? We're seeing what will happen to them if they stay on course. Or so we think. So we're seeing it from Poe's perspective of, we need Finn and Rose to be successful here. I will say, one more thing about the Luke second lesson scene. My friend Houston Coley has a video on it from a few years ago about how it saved the prequels, fixed the prequels, used the prequels, and I really liked it. Houston and I watched Dune together a couple of weeks ago. It was very nice to see him. And then we get Benicio del Toro. He's playing Ezra. Young Snoke. What were some other DJ theories? Can't remember. I think introducing a Lando Calrissian style character and then having them not be smooth talking, having them be stuttering and greasy and not cool. I don't know. It's good. I think apparently it was Benicio del Toro's choice. The accent. The stuttering. I think it sets him apart. I know some people hate it. BB-8 having off-screen violence. That's great, because I think the logistics of it would be hard to show. BB-8's got a gun. I love how he blows the smoke off his gun here. Sick. You know, I think BB-8 is fantastic. I do like the DJ in that moment has no reason to know that BB-8 is with the other two. He's just like, oh, the coolest droid of all time. Hi, man. You can be my mate. I think... What was I going to say? Sorry if there's a lot of that. It's midnight. Fathiers? It's hard to know. It's hard being a little English boy in a film full of American accents saying things. It means I don't know how to say things. BB-8, I was just about to say, what a triumph of a new character, you know? I don't think, obviously because he's a robot, people don't always think of him in the same way as, like, your Poes and your Reys and your Finns, Ben Solo. But, like, he's on their level, if not more. Like, BB-8, The Force Awakens, just immediately, he's a part of the ensemble. We're invested in him. He's not just R2-D2 2. He's his own character, his own thing. Does his prominence come at the expense of R2 as a character? Yes, in 2 out of 3 movies. Not in this one. This is the benefit of, you know, having people off on different adventures. I know the Rise of Skywalker promo was so built around, like, we're reassembling the gang. They're all together on a mission. And it's like, yeah, but their business is apart. These characters can flourish separately. If Finn was away from the rest of them in Rise of Skywalker, he may have had something to do. I think going, wow, the trio is back together, as if, Poe and Rey don't even meet until this film. Like, come on. Come the fuck on. A film is not just good because the actors got to hang out with their buddies. A film is not good because you had a good time making it. Just because, John Boyega and Daisy Ridley are happy to be working with one another doesn't mean that their characters are serviced by the fact they have proximity. What did Luke and Leia do together beyond the first film? Not much. They have a reunion at the end of Empire, like Finn and Rey do here. They have one little action scene in 3. I guess they have another action scene, but for the bulk of Luke's character work, he has to have it separate from the other characters. They understand that for him to have an interesting story, he needs to go and do his own thing. They don't tether him to his friends for the sake of... I know Rey gets to go off and do some things in Rise of Skywalker, but I think, I don't know, because people were upset that the gang was apart in this one, that's one of the reasons Finn is left doing nothing. It's because in order to have a Stormtrooper rebellion or to have some kind of meaningful Jedi experience, if that's the direction you're going. But no, he's just tagging along for the ride, and as we learnt from Han, in Return of the Jedi, tagging along for the ride does not a great character make. I like the Fathiers, I like the chase, I like the kind of microcosm of the whole film's deal that is kind of within this, that, yeah, it may be hopeless, we may be up against crazy odds, but we got to cause chaos for this town, and we got to help a few specific people, creatures, beings. Finn comes out of this going, well, you know what? If we got to fuck things up for the casino, that's a job well done. And is that not the whole point? And it's exciting, right? Fun with Finn and Rose as a theme. And it's Rose's theme. It's just... This is the fun adventure part of it. And it takes place in a beautiful setting with 2 beautiful characters. 4 beautiful characters. Do you think if Rose and Finn had been captured, that DJ and BB-8 would have just had adventures together? They stole that ship together. Right, and now we're cutting back to Rey. No? To Luke. Right, I think the third lesson scene should have just happened, and it should have prompted Luke to reconnect with the Force. And we've skipped it. And it's different reasons, unseen reasons. His lessons with Rey, those conversations, reintegrating himself with the galaxy through Rey has convinced him to reconnect with the Force. And I think that works. I don't think you're spending this going, what? Why is he doing that? And I think selling that moment by doing an Empire Strikes Back, by connecting him with Leia from across the galaxy, is so powerful. But yeah, originally there would have been more that led to that in Luke, just as there was more that leads to Rey feeling miserable here. But again, you don't necessarily feel it. The only absence that the third lesson leaves is that Luke goes, I'll give you 3 lessons, and he gives 2. But I love the third lesson sequence so much, but there is a lot going on in this movie, and maybe for pacing, you do need to do this. Sorry, I'm watching The Last Jedi again. The scenes with Rey and Kylo are just... Oh, man. I think, it's not the villains are right. Well, a movie's good when the villain starts making more sense than the hero, but it's so important to have a character like this be able to speak some truth to the villain, to the hero, No, he's not wrong about anything that he tells Rey. He is just coming from a place of, it's the wrong reason to be telling her these truths, but the truths are true. And his perspective on Luke attacking him is a true perspective. It is how he feels it went, and it was what he saw happen. It is not what happened, which a lot of people don't know. Let the past die, kill it if you have to. It's the only way to become who you truly meant to be, blah, blah, blah. Again, there is truth in that for the character. He believes that is the way forward. Destroy everything of the past. As we know, this movie is sold by Luke Skywalker reclaiming his legend status of the past, using his past to both learn from and build from for the sake of a victory. He is using the past to inform the future. He is treating his failure and his success of yesteryear to build a better tomorrow for the galaxy. I mean, it's what Yoda says. If Yoda is saying one thing and Kylo Ren is saying another, why would you take the lesson of the movie to be from Kylo Ren? Rian Johnson thinks the only way forward for Star Wars is to kill the past. That's why Luke dies. That's why everything's bad. It's no. The baddie, who loses, by the way, thinks that the way forward is to kill the past, and the goodie, who kicks his ass, is one that is using both past, present, and future, all three. Rey Cave. Rave Cave. You guys ever play Fortnite? They used a gazillion cameras. See, I want to share behind the scenes trivia as if this is Rian Johnson's commentary. Rian Johnson's commentary is great because he says the notion a lot, and it really puts me at ease as someone who says a lot. But he'll go, we really wanted the notion of there being lots of rays in this scene. I mean, what a visual. And again, it's not overly flashy, but it's technically complicated. It feels like it would be hard to achieve, but at the same time it's not in your face, blah. It's a very simple idea. And then we get narration. And the narration, I don't know. Is she just talking to the audience? Is she talking to Luke Skywalker? No. She's talking to old Kylo. Kilogram. And then it's two figures. We're going to see Rey's parents. We're going to get the answer to this question that we've all had. What? It's just Rey. It's like Luke seeing himself. A lot of people, seemingly J.J. Abrams included, seem to think that this movie was throwing away the idea of Rey's parentage as a question, treating it as though it doesn't matter. Whereas I think it treats it very much like it does matter. It just gives a specific answer. Rey feels alone. She's told she's not alone, and there he is, Kylo Ren. And they're both talking calmly to each other. I have a pen that says, "You're not alone, neither are you." It was given to me by someone at Star Wars Celebration, and I use it every day at work. I'm worried someone will find it. I'll leave it somewhere and they'll go, "What is this motivational thing?" And I have to go, "No, actually, Reylo?" I think Ben burning that bridge with, or burning Leia's bridge with Luke, telling the story of his creation, giving simultaneously separating Rey from Luke and providing a bit of backstory and sympathy for his own origin, is the perfect setup for this. I mean, how intimate are those hand shots? And, I mean, both of them. How often do they touch a human skin to skin, you know? Never? It's crazy. And he can see... I mean, that's a great visual. Pushing in on Luke and then pulling away and Kylo's not there anymore. The connection's broken. You interrupted my Force Skype, Dad. And then we get a fight, and it's like an interesting fight. And people are angry there's no like actual lightsaber duel in this, but I mean, maybe there would have been if they'd given Rey her own lightsaber. But like, I always love Force users involved in a fight that is not just a laser beam duel. And God, I love how this lightsaber looks at night. Just the rain coming down. I don't know, I think I've always liked the scene between Jango and Obi-Wan on Kamino, because it's Force user versus non-Force user, and it forces a bit of hand-to-hand combat and a bit of, you know, rope and wire and jetpack-based shenanigans, you know. Oh, it's Luke's green lightsaber. Where is it, canonically? Is it just left here? I guess it is. Oh, Luke in a moment thought that he could save all his friends by being a hero. How out of character. And he's immediately followed up by, that's out of character for me. I've seen Star Wars theory be like explained that. I don't want to spend time talking about Star Wars theory. But people get explained that in detail and they still go, Luke tried to kill Ben, because some of these people don't believe any of this stuff. Some of these people had strong opinions about this, that they thought it was good, they thought it was fun, they thought they liked what it was doing, and they have convinced themselves to hate every single aspect, because if you're not going to the extremes, then you're not making as much money as you could. Rey offering the saber to Luke, and he doesn't take it, so she thinks then Ben Solo is our last hope. You're forgetting yourself. No, there is another, etc. It's invoking that. Evoking. It makes us think of no, there is another. And there is. It's her. His hair dried very quickly. I guess maybe it took a while for her to get there. I remember Frank Oz tweeting about being at the Last Jedi premiere, and Mark Hamill like going, "Oh, well, Frank, isn't that a spoiler?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's a funny joke. They've invited a Star Wars legend, and Mark's pretending that, you know, he's in the movie." And it didn't at all occur to me that he would actually be in the movie. See, Luke in this moment is going, let the past die, kill it if you have to. And Yoda is going, no, dickhead, you're wrong. What the hell? The Force ghosts can use the Force? I thought when he said, I'll be more powerful than you can possibly imagine, I thought he just meant talking. See, I think Yoda destroying the tree, not only is it good, it prevents Luke from finding out there was nothing in it anyway. Rey took the books. So it's taking some of what Luke said on board. Time it is for you to stop caring about the past and these books and letting that burden you. I know people said, like, I remember it was maybe Red Letter Media going, they didn't understand Yoda. The library contained nothing that Rey did not already possess. Because she took the books. It's a joke. There is the value in those books. But people saying, Yoda's not meant to be crazy. That was just a game to mess with Luke. And it's like, yeah, but he's also teaching Luke a lesson now. Wouldn't he do that with a bit of fun? This is the Yoda he knew for a lot of Empire. Something about hearing Yoda talk about Ben Solo and Rey is so cool to me. I know that this is a scene from The Last Jedi, but I think it's so like Luke and Yoda focused that the idea of him kind of integrating with the other events of this film. Like, I don't know, the idea that Yoda is in the same movie as Poe is still something it's hard to reconcile. It's hard to think about that in your head because this is such a kind of Luke scene. This scene of the two of them sat watching everything burn is my desktop wallpaper, so if I'd minimised it there, I would have just seen the same scene. We are what they grow beyond. And in what, a minute and a half? 2 minutes? Yoda's just come out and told us everything. And it's been beautiful, and John Williams has scored it all, and Frank Oz has done the best Yoda performance since 1980. It's funny that, the prequel memes crowd, they hate this movie, even though it does a reference to Palpatine's Do It. Rian Johnson's a shitposter. And I think we should respect him as one. He's very online. Look at Glass Onion. But then, also, you only notice how online he is if you're also insufferably online. You show Glass Onion to a normal, they go, oh, look, here it is, do it. And she spins around in the Palpatine chair. Yeah, you show Glass Onion to a normal, they just go, normal movie. They are saying things. The thing about Finn and DJ, I think potentially they have to dumb Finn down a bit to let DJ give his whole shtick, but I don't know. Well, at least, I mean, maybe he's the stormtrooper raised from birth. His idea of the world is it would be very limited. So going, oh yeah, well, there are good guys and bad guys. The people on this ship sell to the bad guys. Don't join. I wonder what that acronym is. Oh no, the time bomb continues to tick. I think Aid Edmondson is really fun in this film. He's another one of those little characters, whether he's delivering a line or just kind of emoting in the background of a Hux scene. Poe wants a scene. I love Poe's jacket here. I love that she quotes Leia, and he understands the Leia quote, and he's almost swayed by it. It kind of shows that no, they're both great friends of Leia. It's only when he hears about the transports and he's like, oh, we're just going to try and make a run for it. I love there's a lady just awkwardly shuffling out of frame there. She doesn't want to be part of this. See, seeing Poe like interact with like props and things, like he's throwing stuff around, he's interacting with his environment, that feels like something that's really absent from modern Star Wars. Like, I don't know, everything feels so fake and in place, and no one can touch anything because nothing's real. I don't know, maybe it's a little thing. Oh, and we hear DJ hearing all the Monty Python reference. Found a master codebreaker? Well, we found a codebreaker. I hope this is something worth listening to. I feel like I'm giving some insight here and there. You know? Some people ask me to talk about individual aspects of this film. Now I'm talking about all of them. I wonder what Leia? I wonder what Rey was going to tell Finn. We'll never know. I wonder what Finn was going to tell Rey. Now, what's about to happen is so sicko mode. Out of hyperspace, dump the cargo back into hyperspace. That right there? That's what it's all about. The scale of these hangars is something else. Again, I think seeing it like here, like the kind of industrial side of things, and like this is a crazy hangar. The idea of flying in that coffin is terrifying. But like that differentiates it from like the hangars we saw in The Force Awakens that are very much just Star Destroyer or Death Star hangars again. Ooh, Kylo doesn't have quite the same look of familiarity. He's showing off in front of his friends. And again, like the idea of approaching it from underneath, it shows a kind of, you know, there are multiple dimensions of space rather than just there's a single horizon. Everyone's on the same plane. But no, you can approach that and it be exactly, you know, they're all in their perspective still facing up. I mean, obviously they're all being stupid here. They're all doing a mutiny and pulling a gun on Holdo. But I was always touched by the fact that Lieutenant Connix, played by Billie Lourd, I was always happy that she was on Team Poe. Just the idea that they're mates. And then a visual gag. It's an iron. That's very Indiana Jones, like not seeing them sneak in and like sourcing the outfits, but just they're putting them on and we can fill in the gaps. Now that happens in, I guess, Raiders and Last Crusade. Like there's just kind of a punch and then BB-8 imitating a mouse droid. Just fantastic. People say, if you can believe it, people say this movie is bad. I suppose it's helpful to say that we are at, I don't know what point we're at. I can't tell you. There are 1 hour, 2 minutes and 42 seconds left. I can't see how many. Now we've got the elevator scene. They get so close to one another. Do a kiss. Kiss. God, she's even closer. The idea that, you know, the connection While connected through the Force, they physically connected and learned a lot about each other's place in the galaxy. Rey saw him turning, either in this fight or in the future. He saw the truth about her parents. Or, as far as the movie's concerned, the truth about her parents. Let's pretend it's 2018, shall we? I love this throne room. I love the shiny floor. I love the red. I love that Snoke's a prick. Sorry, sometimes I have something insightful to say. Other times I just go, that's good, that's good, that's good. Wow, DJ was using the medallion just as a tool. Maybe he's a good guy all along. In this moment, he is. He's not already betrayed them. He is trying as hard as he can. It's just that when the situation turns, Mr. Live Free Don't Join, he leaves. That little throw of the comm is so good. For those watching on YouTube without The Last Jedi, BB-8 through the comm. I don't know, I feel like Poe is mean to 3PO and like a similar level to Han, and it's not like, doesn't feel incredibly cruel. It just feels, I don't know, like with a good awareness of 3PO, like conceptually. It's not like, what's it called? Rise of Skywalker, where they're just mean to him. They're just horrible. 3PO thinks it's bad protocol to... Bad protocol. I didn't mention it at the time. I was saying something else. Connix does a kind of weird pause as she presses the door button, and that's similar to how they did the doors in A New Hope, where they slowly brought them down and then sped up the footage, so the actors had to stand really still. I like it. I think Holdo kicking the smoke into their face and shooting, even though she goes pew 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 with her mouth. I think... Is that the actor, what's he called? Ralph something or other. Is he in this? Ralph Ineson? Is he in Willow? Ralph Ineson. Are you in this, Ralph? When was this? 2017. Surely he had more to do in deleted scenes, if so. Yes, he is in that. Wow. Leia, you're here to help. Don't shoot me, Mum. That's C-3PO saying that. Just a bit of fun. And now, wow, it's all flipped on the head, you know? We thought Leia would align herself with Poe. But what? She agrees with Admiral Gender Studies? Maybe that makes me the moron. No? No, the movie is moron. I am still right. I love this moment between these two. Leia is tired, but she's strong. Carrie Fisher is so good in this. They're good friends, you know? And you get that sense. This is their only scene together. And just the fact that they like Poe. Both of them, like... Laura Dern, Admiral Holdo, just like... Yeah, Poe's charming, isn't he? He was wrong on this front, but... that crazy kid, he'll learn. Rey's outfit here, her hair, such a wonderful evolution of the character. Wouldn't it be a shame if she went back to three bun white robes? Yeah, this is just the best Rey look. Oh look, it's Rey's origin. I warned my apprentice that as he grew stronger, his equal in the light would rise. That's all we really needed. It was the Force balancing itself out with a similarly aged, similar, style character of Rey from nowhere. But no, she needed more explanation, because why else would a lady have powers? I think I like the idea of Snoke bridging their minds. Like, I like the idea of them, like, having this connection that's kind of pre-established. Like, Rey and Kylo, like, they would be soulmates, let's say. Romantic or otherwise, soulmates. But specifically, like, the act of making them, like, putting in the work so they can speak to one another. I think the idea that Snoke did that and it led to his downfall is great. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I say in the Reylo video that it's kind of annoying that Rey and Ben coming together in that movie is what rejuvenates Palpatine, and then it's only after that Palpatine dies. It's not that he's, Rey's losing to Palpatine, and then it's when Ben arrives that they together can defeat him. Sorry, this isn't a video about why Rise of Skywalker is a disappointment. But this almost ticks the box that fails to tick. So the plan is to hold steady and then, go down and go and get the allies from the Outer Rim, but the allies, they're not interested in coming. And then here's Leia spelling out this side of the movie to Poe, and people still didn't get it. And I say spelling out, it's not obvious, it doesn't feel like mindless, brain-dead dialogue, it's kind of poetic and beautiful, but at the same time, And look at this many ships. Phasma, meh. I wish The Force Awakens had done more to make Phasma like a worthwhile character. Oh, Hux has cleaned himself up a little bit. But yeah, Phasma, a bit of a weak note. I think she should have had that fight scene with, the traitor fight scene on Takodana. Or maybe they should have, I don't know, had Phasma be the one to find them on the ship this time? But I guess finding them is just a case of seeing them. Like, there's not much detective work being done there. And this is the opposite of Lando. It's not they arrived right before you did. It's I saw my situation worsening and I decided to improve it. They have chosen to align themselves with a man with no principles except looking after himself. This is the payoff. It's another lesson for Finn, And, this is the big exposure of DJ's philosophy being wrong. Really. It's all good and proper to be... What's the word? I don't know, to be detached from everything, to say you're smart because you remove yourself from the system. I don't know if that's centrism or... I don't know, like, that kind of thing, it's all good to make yourself sound clever and be all kind of libertarian about it and like, oh, well, I'm separate from all that. But then when that attitude gets all these good people just killed because, well, that's the fight, isn't it? We kill them now, they kill you next time. This is how it works. None of it matters. And it's like, well, actually, no, because killing bad people is good and killing good people is bad. I do like that he's got a specific magnifying glass there just to show Rey, I'm afraid your friends will be dead by the time they get to Crate. Rey with Kylo's lightsaber is sicko mode. I love it. It's just, I don't know, it's just one of those cool visuals that, like, as a kid, that would have, like, kind of blown my mind. If I'd seen Luke with a red lightsaber, just for a moment. I cannot imagine looking at how this film uses Snoke and going, I kind of wish they'd not done all this and had him just continue to be kind of boring on a hologram and then just done Return of the Jedi in the next movie. Like, look at all this. Bringing what for Vader was his third act story beat, like the very end of his story. Bringing that to the second act of Kylo Ren's forces the third act to be interesting, and it forces it to reckon with the outcome, grapple with the consequences of all of this, and the idea that, like, you look at that and go, well, they've done everything they can with Kylo now. Stupid movie, didn't even give us anywhere to go in the sequel. No, Duel of the Fates doesn't know what to do. Rise of Skywalker doesn't know what to do. I wonder what Rian Johnson would have done. I really, really wonder. Yeah, the killing of Snoke. I know it was being, like, built up, but the killing of Snoke too, he forces the lightsaber into Rey's hand and they team up together. I think that is the best I have ever felt in a cinema. Just a sense of holy shit. And then the action sequence that follows is scrappy and fast paced, and it's teamwork, and they're working in harmony despite never having worked together before. And it's exciting. And if you slow it down, actually, then for some reason they're working in slow motion. See, Finn telling DJ, your philosophy is wrong. And apparently that was a Benicio del Toro addition at the end, was going, maybe I am. Maybe you're right, but at this point, it doesn't matter to him. I think that's really cool. And I mean, look at this, all these unique weapons from these guys as well. Like kind of vibro weapons. Setting fire to the red backdrop so everything's just in tatters, and they are dueling in the the embers of the First Order. And people saying, oh, Kylo should be more experienced. Kylo's taken on 3 of these guys while Rey is dealing with 1, Fantastic. Wait, where's that knife gone? I don't think we've had that scene yet. I love Adam Driver's physicality. If this is all Adam Driver, I think it is. There's a lot of faces. I love that wound on Rey's arm as well. Like, it just looks... It's got an interesting look to it. And, dual wielding with the lightsaber and the weird Praetorian Guard weapons. And now he's lightsaberless. We're going to need an interesting thing to happen. Oh, he dropped a knife. Oh no. Wait, what if I do something interesting? An action set piece that thinks about little moments like that, rather than just, who will win at the end. That's more compelling. I love how angry and the word feral gets used, but just the kind of passion in Rey during that fight is kind of unlike anything we've seen in her before. And in a Jedi, in a goody Jedi in a scene like that. Oh yeah. Ben Solo thinks they should just let everyone die, including Leia and Poe. The movie clearly thinks he's right. I love just the heartbreak that comes over Rey in this moment. Just the hope that she had for the future and for him and for her and for the fleet and for everything. Just him crushing that in a moment in this plea. And from him as well, just the desperation to have Rey with him on this, Oh, he's making Rey say what she knows to be true about her parents. They were nobody. Kylo lied. Yeah? Kylo didn't say it. Rey said it because she knew. She always knew. She's not... This is not a dismissal of the question. It is an answer to the question. It is... It is the most interesting possible answer to this question. Rey, you are Obi-Wan's granddaughter. Fuck off. What's the point? What would that mean? Look at how sad they both are. You just wish either of them could have met the other on it. And Kylo's abusive, Kylo's negging. It's like, well, yeah, Kylo is in the wrong here, and Rey is not going with him on it. It's only when he stops being a prick that she goes, maybe I will consider this guy. Maybe I will give him a smooch. A smooch of gratitude. Young Ones. Good show. Anyone ever see Young Ones? Is that what it's called? Young Ones. Yeah. Oh, is Rey gonna take his hand? I love that kind of determination from her, I know what I have to do. I'm heartbroken, but I know what I have to do. And then the visual, the tug of war. I mean, compare it to the similar tug of war that they have in Rise of Skywalker. There's just so much more going on. If you're going to repeat the visual, do something better or different with it. But no, just repeat the visual. Phasma looks cool. I wish she was cool, but she looks cool. Connix thinks Holdo's running away. Poe understands Holdo now. He understands who she is and why the Resistance needs her. Just the desperation from Hux and Aide there, just as they realise what's about to happen. And just the escalation of all three of these little sequences. The everything comes together. They're about to have their heads chopped off. They're about to be sent flying by an explosion, and boom. Just the coolest thing to have ever happened. I will repeat myself here. There are people who think this movie is bad. If you're curious, we have 42 seconds and... 42 minutes and 14, 13, 12 seconds left. Wow. That'll take me to about 1:30 in the morning. The perfect time to film a commentary. Finn, come on. Yeah, imagine if they'd had their normal Resistance costumes, their fancy gowns, and then their thing. That's so cool, having the shadow and the smoke. It's also funny that, like, the Shadow Warrior, the Ahsoka episode, does the same thing with Anakin and Vader, and it looks worse. Like, you're being outdone by a shot of Captain Phasma. Do you not feel ashamed? It's B-Bait. He's a real friend. Yeah, and this is the deleted scene, I think, that is the most... maybe harms the film the most. Like, if they'd done everything that they were planning on doing with Phasma, then I think Phasma would have come away from this trilogy a much better character. That being said, if we look at this sequence for what it does for Finn's character, you know, this is the true conclusion of him taking his place as a rebel, you know? Phasma's little pistol from Battlefront. Look at that. I can't imagine not being happy with what they do with Finn here. I guess, like, if you've hated every minute of the casino stuff, then you're like, meh. But, like, did everyone think he was going to be a Jedi? That's not promised in The Force Awakens. Him becoming a true rebel hero. That's where I saw him going, and that's where it took him. This maybe looks a bit silly. Although I guess it's a bit like when they were running on the little horse. No, I think it looks bad. I don't know how you do it, but you find something that doesn't look bad. I mean, this wreckage looks phenomenal, though. And the transition, you know, we follow them out, and then we look at the Snoke throne room bit. Torso with comedic timing. Just a hand sat there on the... People say there's no severed limb in this one. Ooh. What about that one? Just a great, not just comedic beat of Hux pulling the gun on Kylo, but just a great character beat. Like, he knows exactly... We now kind of know exactly what this relationship means for the future, with these two fuckers running the entire First Order together. You know, Hux begrudgingly accepting Kylo's command. The Supreme Leader is dead. Long live the Supreme Leader. No, I think, that being the setup for the First Order, the big threat going into the next movie. Two unstable nut jobs running the place, one of who might join the goodies. Very interesting place to leave it. There's the shot of Leia on crate that I wish hadn't been in the trailer because it made me know that she hadn't died when she fell out there. Weird that the door wasn't already shut, but gives them a chance to skid through, I suppose. They just put Leia on stand there and wait until you see ships already on their way duty. Semi-side note, I love how accurately that, base interior was recreated for Battlefront 2. Leia with a little gun. Don't shoot, it's us. That's cute. Oh, 3PO's happy to see. See, look, also, Ryan kind of requesting that BB-8 stay with the Resistance, and R2 go with what are they called, Rey and Chewie. That leads to so much good stuff here. And what if BB-8 was stuck on that island? What can you do on the island? I think it's very sad to set up that the allies of the Resistance aren't happy to come and save the day. The idea is that they need to be inspired, re-inspired, and Luke is what does that. So it would be nice if they'd mentioned Luke's sacrifice in the next movie and had that maybe be the reason that everyone shows up. Fans will tell you that it was the reason that everyone showed up at the end, but it, I think, would have been nice to make that clear. I don't think J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio understand why Luke gave his life in this film. Or out. You guys enjoying the film? I really appreciate if anyone is still watching this. If not, I'm just having a nice time. Hanging out with you all. When I say you all, I'm talking about the Resistance. Crate is such a cool planet. You know, leaving those footprints. That's Andrew Jack. He was the dialect coach. And J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson were like, hey, that's the coolest looking man of all time. Let's give him stuff to do. I'm so glad he gets a moment, you know. He died a couple of years ago, last year. I don't know. He's got a very famous video of breaking down all the accents in the UK. And yeah, he is just a very handsome, cool-looking man. He was on set. Why not just give him a costume, give him a character? Chuck a couple of lines his way? I mean, look at that visual. Again, look at the integration between the actual actors and the exteriors of the ships. They're there, they're in them. In a way that almost makes you go, what? I'm not used to seeing this. Look at that. Crate is the best planet from the sequel trilogy. It's an idea. It's not just something that exists. You know, it's not just what if forest, what if sand. It's what if salt and red crystal. What if 8080s were gorillas? I do love as well just that the speeders are no match for the TIE fighters. It's just not the scenario that speeders are built for. I guess it's a bit like the bombers early on. It's maybe tech that serves a purpose, but it's not tech that is, they're using what they have, but this is not the ideal. Now, I've played this in Battlefront. You need someone up there taking out those TIEs. And they don't have anyone. Which is why it's great when someone does arrive. And we get 3 in a row. And we need, bang, all taken out in once. We get the shadow. We get the reaction shot. Then we get Falcon visual accompanied by the musical cue. There's a bit in The Mandalorian where everything happens at once. There's a shot and a musical note and the ship all happening at once. There's no moment to sync, absorb any of it. And I just always point to this as the standard of that's how you sell a moment of someone coming in to save the day. It's similar to Han showing up in the Battle of Yavin. It's the shot, the what, and then you see Han. Rey in the gunner seat. I love the gunner seat. I also love that Chewie is just insane at flying. And again, they are using Kylo's let the past die as a way to, bait the First Order. They're trying to take, they know that they'll chase the Falcon over any other ship. Because Kylo is wrong, and he's misguided, and he's irrational when it comes to this. I love the use of the Empire Strikes Back asteroid music, both when he flies in and just in general. This is the dogfight from A New Hope music, but that's great. But yeah, Chewie just doing insane piloting skills because he is good at it. I'm not too fussed about this big cannon. I like the set piece that it leads to when it comes to Finn's role in it, and I guess it means that all hope is lost for the Resistance. But I don't know. I don't see the cannon and go, "Whoa, cool." Maybe I'm asking a lot, but no, a lot of stuff in this movie does make me go, "Whoa, cool." So. Come on, Finn. See, now Finn's doing the Poe. Poe's going, don't. We need you alive, rather than just dead on a mission that won't achieve anything. Poe is in the Leia position now. He's wise. And it's not Finn being crazy and hot-headed, it's him being so dedicated to the cause. But and that's the end of Finn's arc. It's from wanting to run away from it all to willing to lay his life on the line for it. But that's not just because he's willing to lay it down and that's a good end to his arc doesn't mean that they should have just let him die here. He's now had the I'm willing to give myself up for this cause. But Rose means that there can be a life beyond that. And that he is more valuable to the Resistance alive than he would be melted to a crisp, blowing up a cannon that the First Order don't need. I think maybe if you wanted to sell the kiss a little better, you need a little more, I think, romantic build-up between the two. Because I do kind of admit that, although they're having a good time together, you don't necessarily believe that there's anything beyond that until she kisses him in this moment. That's my perspective, at least. That being said, once they had kissed, that's something that I feel maybe should have been pursued in the next film. Or, I don't know. Finn and Poe, romantically, who knows? Someone romantically. If not Finn and Rose, then a reason why not Finn and Rose. I mean, I love how much the environment has changed by the end of the Battle of Crate as well. Salt all up in the air, the ground suddenly red instead of white. I think they do sell an all hope is lost moment here, because I think they've laid out the stakes so clearly that it's not you don't see a way out for them. Right up until the point Leia senses a way out for them. And obviously she's the first to notice because she doesn't need to see it to feel it. And there's the reunion. The reunion that some people wished couldn't have happened. And like, Luke looks different and you go, oh, he cut his hair before rejoining them. Like, he looks younger. But... And John Williams brings back the theme from Return of the Jedi of their conversation there. And they've injected a bit of Carrie's humour into Leia as a character. Not that it wasn't there before, but her kind of older humour. And I like that Leia sees it as, oh, Luke's with us just as it's all ending, but Luke knows he's gonna do more than that. No one's ever really gone. I mean, I think, obviously, Kylo ends this movie not in a great place. He's kind of angry still. And it's like, well, he had the chance of redemption, but by the end of this, he was going to be a villain. But I think if that was what you were going to go for, why no one's ever really gone in that case? The Leia and Han theme, as he gives her the dice. I know some people said, like, stop trying to make the dice a thing. It's like, no, they're not pretending the dice is a thing. Like, it's a thing from Han. By doing what they do with it in this movie, they've made it a thing. It doesn't have to have already been I don't know. You know, I can't imagine looking at what they do with the dice in this and going, you expect us to care about the dice? It's like, yeah, because look at what they're doing with the dice. And then Luke takes what they were doing with the Falcon, which is Kylo Ren is so hell-bent on destroying the past that he will lose his air support, you know? And he's going, well, now that was Rey's idea. Separate the fleet by using the Falcon. And this is Luke's idea. They're on the same wavelength. Stop everything. Kill my uncle. Then continue. And he's appearing as Kylo's, as Ben Solo's Luke. The one that, tried to kill him. The last Luke that Ben saw. There's 23 minutes and 28 seconds left. Again, another exterior shot that puts the cockpit scene inside. What? Luke's alive? And there's not a speck of dust on him? I know, there's just so many signs that Luke isn't really there physically, and we don't notice them. I didn't. Or, I noticed that he looked different, but I was like, right, okay, he's given himself a haircut on the way in his X-Wing. That pilot was King George in the West End version of Hamilton. First cast. That's not a useful fact. That's not something that you get from, me. That's something Rian Johnson could have told you. Again, and here's Poe making a smart leadership decision of he's facing Kylo Ren. That's not so we can go in and kill Kylo Ren. It's so we can save what we love. We can leave. We can save ourselves. We can use his sacrifice to further the general mission, you know. God, that goes so hard. Did you come back to say, forgive me, to save my soul? No. And then Kylo does the epic, you know, lungy lightsaber activation that he was famous for in the Force Awakens trailer, and they just cut that famous shot from the trailer. So that's the first time we've really seen him do that in the actual movies. See, Poe, I love, you know, we don't get much of Poe and Luke, because why would we? That's not a, you know, it's like Han and Yoda. But, sorry, he's just been quite mean to 3PO in a way that's very charming. But, like, the idea of, like, Poe having an awareness of what Luke's here to do, and, like, the trust in that, and the kind of, he's here to save us, we're going to take that opportunity. That's what he'd want. I think it's really cool to get that. And then Leia passing the torch to Poe. What are you looking at me for? Follow him. And people say Leia should have been, you know, written out of this movie in the first act, second act, I don't know. Just absolute nonsense. You know, you need her for Poe's arc, you need him for her for Luke's. For Rey's. Not yet, but for Rey's. You need it for the next movie. Oh no. Lifting rocks. Again, she starts the movie wrong. The Force is a power that Jedi hats that have that lets them lift rocks, move things. And it ends with her saving everyone by lifting rocks. Oh, he's clever, isn't he? And he knows he's clever. But that doesn't make him any less clever. Kylo Ren turns his feet. He leaves footprints. Jedi Master Skywalker doesn't leave any. He's holding the lightsaber that they blew up earlier on in the film, and yet I still had not realised. That's such a cool little bit of physicality there. The kind of duck into a spin. Ben Solo's funny. I'm sure you are. And I love the editing here. The rebellion is reborn. We see Leia, 3PO, Poe. The war is just beginning. We see Finn. He's the soldier. They're the leadership. And I will not be the last Jedi. Rey. She's lifted all those fucking rocks because she is the future. She's what we're here for. She's going to continue everything. She's a beacon of the light. She's powerful, she's strong, she's got her friends, and she's gonna lead us to salvation. I think that's the moment Luke knows that they're safe. And he's able, it's a bit like the look that Ben Solo? Ben Kenobi. Jesus, it's getting late. Yeah, it's a proper... But it's cool that he gets to do it with the Force. You know, he senses that they're safe and that this is now his time to go. And he says, you know, if you strike me, I'll always be with you. And we expect him to just be struck. But it ain't that simple. If he'd given Kylo that satisfaction, you know, that would have fueled Kylo into something else. But this is more. This is a realization that he's been had. And he knows what's going to happen before it happens. Luke's not there. You have been fooled. Luke is on the island. He still looks old. Maybe the coolest thing anyone's ever done, quite frankly. I mean, people say, oh, it's the most Jedi thing that's ever been done. You know, he stopped a whole army without hurting anyone, without even having to physically be there, just being this, you know, guardian of peace and justice, you know? And yes, he did. But that's not even like, it's not cool because it's Jedi. It's cool because it's cool. And the fact it's also very Jedi is, well, that really helps. I remember being really shocked that he died, though, because, I don't know, it didn't feel like he was going to. It didn't feel like that was going to kill him. But, I mean, it's set up earlier. Like, the effort would kill you. But, you know, that was something to adjust to in real time. Oh shit, Luke is dying here. He did just do that. And getting the reaction shots from Leia and Rey. We have two characters that have shared very few scenes together, but there's such an understanding between them. And he looks to the horizon. And they work it in with... Oh, man. 2 sons. And he's watching it on a galaxy he's made better by being in it. And by being Luke Skywalker. Peace and purpose, I tell you. And it's just stunning. And the final thing we see being just the island. The sun setting on the island. Revenge of the Sith reference. That visual shot there. Visual shot. That visual / that shot. First Order snowtroopers look very good. Hux wants to kill Kylo Ren more than ever. What great tension going into the next movie. That's the last we see of Hux in this film. And we get one more sequence between Rey and her boyfriend. And she's saying, "You have let me down and made a fool of yourself, and you are not coming with me to prom." Door closed. Closing the door on that for now. The dice. Bit rude of Leia to leave them, frankly, but maybe she knew. And you know, I really love... Well, I love the Resistance all being... Okay, C-3PO saying such a friend. It's so cute. Rey, BB-8. Reunion. A Rey and Poe introduction. Potentially it's set up for a romantic pairing between the two. That was what Trevorrow was after, but luckily can just be read as two nice pals. I like that Rey is the kind of the child here. Like, Luke's gone, you know, I'm sad about it, and Leia's so wise and so accepting of it and so aware. And that final line from Leia, we have everything we need. And they do. They have each other. They know what's right, and they have this, as Luke, this beacon of hope across the galaxy. And then that not being the end is always a surprise. And I remember we have an epilogue. So un-Star Wars, but look, the legend of Luke is travelling, the hope that he's spreading. And this kid, he's got the Force. I know people say, like, oh, they've forgotten about Broom Boy. Why haven't they done anything with Broom Boy? And it's like, no, Broom Boy isn't the point, you cockhead. It's the point that there's little boys out there, little everyone's, just, they can be the future. In a galaxy that Luke has inspired. And the broom is a lightsaber as well, just to add one little cherry on top. What a perfect ending to a perfect film. Written and directed. What a flex. Only one man has had that before. Ah, what a lovely time. Thank you for watching that with me, everyone. Or just for listening to me watch it. Obviously, it was an April Fool's video. I just had the idea for the thumbnail and the title and the intro and didn't really think beyond that. But going down and actually writing a script for the 2.5 hours is... that sounded dreadful, especially because I would have been in character the whole time. And, like, as much as I would love to commit to a joke that much, I don't want to. Especially at the moment, I feel quite busy. I think, yeah, I've enjoyed doing that. Maybe I'll do film commentaries all the time. But yeah. If anyone's still watching, comment below. I love... Comment, I love hum, and then I'll know. I just want one little note about the tribute to Carrie Fisher in the credits and with the score. Our princess. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you on Sunday.